Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laiza, and in this channel we share all about faith-based principles and how you can apply them to your life. I also share career and personal growth tips. If you're new here or a returning subscriber, thank you so much for tuning in today. Today I'm going to be sharing all about some practical tips that you can apply if you're looking for a job. This is something that I actually did, especially as a Nigerian and immigrant in the US. I've been able to navigate the global job market effectively, and it's something I'm constantly doing, especially like if I'm looking for, let's say, the next role. These are some of the tips that I'm still going to apply during my job search. So if you're on a job hunt or just looking to improve your prospects career-wise, this video is definitely for you. Okay guys, let's just get right into it. First point is understanding your narrative. Your narrative is really a combination of your different experiences. It's really what makes you you. There is a unique side to you, right? Despite the fact that you may have worked in the same office with someone else, had the same education with, the same person, right? But your own story is totally different. I'll give you an example. So for me personally, I am from Nigeria, but I started my undergrad journey actually in Senegal, right? And then after Senegal, I moved to Boston to continue my education. So you see how different my story is. And even while in Boston, I had my own different experiences, the way I was engaged in school activities and all of that. All those unique data points or touch points really add up to my own unique story. Someone else might not have that unique touch that I have. So understanding your narrative makes a lot of difference. And you'd see that when you're able to map out the different experiences that you've had, I call this the storyboarding or story mapping process, which we'll not have time to go into in this video. But it's really the process of looking back at your journey to say, what have I done over time? What skills have I acquired? And putting all of those together into a unique story. Let's say if you're in the social impact space or in the marketing space, you've had marketing experiences, maybe more specific to inclusive marketing. That is definitely a unique angle to come from, to say I've been able to create inclusive marketing or marketing initiatives from an inclusive lens over the past 5 years. You see like how that just really makes a lot of difference versus just saying, oh, I'm a marketing professional, right? So understanding your narrative, because the narrative really frames what you bring to the table, how you're able to communicate that story in interviews, your resume, your cover letter. You see that in the end, it all makes sense. And it also adds to that elevator pitch that you'll be telling, that story you'll be telling even when you go to speak in a place, right? In a conference, at an event, all of that. That narrative makes a lot of difference. So the second point is tailor your resume and your cover letter to fit both your narrative and the jobs that you're applying for. So this particular point is especially for a lot of immigrants. I see people, let's say they've worked their whole life in Kenya and then they come to the US. You see a 4-page resume and I'm like, why? Like, what story are you trying to tell? And sometimes you look at the 4-page resume and it's not like it has so much quality. It's just like dropping 10 bullet points on that one job. That's already overwhelming for the recruiter. What about you shorten it to at least 4, not more than 4? I would even say 3 bullet points. Very effective quality bullet points that are quantifiable and show the results that you've achieved in that role. So instead of saying that you typed letters, you know that you can actually put that more effectively, right? To show the results of typing those letters and what it led to. If you created a product, for example, you need to show the impact of that particular product in your organization or even your target audience. So don't just say we created the product, make it actionable, make it quantifiable. I like to say that the consulting way just always works. The consulting way of writing your resume, the consulting way of doing interviews, because it helps you to break down your points into key buckets so that you can, present those points articulately to your interviewer. So definitely tailor your resume and make sure that it includes keywords from the job listing that you are applying to. So ensure that you actually take out time to review the job responsibilities so that you can add certain keywords, because sometimes the job could be already saying something that you've done but in a different way. And of course, we want it to pass the applicant tracking systems, that's the ATS system. So it's very important that you include those keywords. Same thing applies to your cover letter. Ensure that it's not just generic, but also it speaks directly to what the company needs. It also speaks to your core values and how that merges with what the company values. This brings me to my next point. Build a strong LinkedIn profile. Now, I'm not saying you have to have 10,000 followers for this to happen. I'm just saying you need to optimize your LinkedIn profile to ensure that you're positioning yourself well, so that when recruiters are checking you out, they're like, okay, this person is actually sensible. It's not just crickets. So LinkedIn, what it does for you is that look at it like a digital billboard, right? That's the way I like to call it, digital billboard. Same thing applies to your online portfolio and also your website if you have those. Ensure that you put things together, you optimize it very well, from putting what your key titles are, or even what fields you're focused on. If it's, let's say, you're a social impact professional, or you do things around inclusive marketing, or you're a product manager, ensure that those key words are on your LinkedIn profile. Ensure that the profile picture that you're using is actually a pretty one and a good one. Sometimes you see selfies or you see people turn this. I'm like, no, I've actually seen someone wear glasses and I'm like, how does that even work? Ensure that you actually optimize your LinkedIn so that you have you're properly positioning yourself for the job. So one other thing that I also did was to ask for recommendations from people that I've worked with in the past. So your colleagues, your supervisors. This really adds credibility to your profile. And don't forget, I think one other thing is that some people just do that and go. Ensure that you're also engaging. Don't just wait for people to engage with you. LinkedIn is a perfect way to start building thought leadership, right? So even if you're taking a course in product management, build in public. That's one thing that my friends Amarachi would always say, that if you're taking a course every week, talk about something that you learned from that particular course. If you attended a conference, talk about key points from that particular conference. It makes a lot of difference because people start understanding how you reason. And it really positions you to also start engaging with other people in your field. So definitely take out time to be more intentional about your LinkedIn page, and also other platforms like your website. And I would even say social media in general. Don't just post random stuff. Even these days when you're going for visa interviews, they look at your LinkedIn. Some visa officers, embassy officers would actually check out your profile, your digital footprints. So ensure that those footprints are saying the right things about you. The next point is network and nurture relationships. We talk a lot about networking, but it's just beyond attending those events, those conferences, collecting the many cards. It goes beyond that. Ensure that you're actually thinking strategically about how you want to network, especially as regards a job. For me personally, some of you already know I went to New York University for my master's degree. While at NYU, what I did was that before I graduated, I started doing virtual coffee chats with people in positions or companies, fields that I was interested in working in. So this I really started low hanging fruit for me was NYU alumni, because NYU has such a strong, solid alumni network. So I started from there, reached out to people on LinkedIn. Some replied, some other ones till today they haven't replied. But I just worked with what I've had, shared what I was looking to achieve, got insights from them. I also found, because of the way those conversations went, they would always say, "Oh, Liza, if you're ready, once you're ready to apply, just let me know so I can refer you to XYZ job, or I can look for someone in a particular company. I could search my networks to see if there's someone that could refer you to a particular job." Another important thing I would mention about networking is that it really starts expanding your network, right? Especially if you're intentional about it and if you map out a process, a follow-up process after that. So this involves reaching out to them to connect after those events, especially with people that you'd like to build meaningful relationships with. So don't forget that. Very, very key. My next point is practice for interviews. I know interviews sometimes can be nerve-wracking, especially when you're just in the job market looking for those opportunities. You're like, oh my goodness, another interview again. But it's very important that you are actually well prepared for those interviews. And what does this look like? This looks like researching those companies, researching common interview questions in your field and for that particular role, so that when they ask you things like, tell me about yourself or walk me through your resume, you're not stuttering. Or when they ask you things like, tell me about a time when you led a team and what you achieved from that particular project, you're not stuttering. You're very, very clear. That's why it's very important, back to my next point, to understand your narrative and be able to articulate it throughout your job search process, in your LinkedIn, in your resume, in your cover letter, and also in those interviews. Take it a step further by even writing down exactly what your answer is going to be. And I'm not saying you should say exactly the same thing, but it just helps you to articulate your points, where you're able to say things like, okay, number one, this is the first thing that I did. Number two, you're basically able to walk your interviewer through your thoughts more articulately. And then take it even a step further by doing mock interviews with friends and family. For me personally, this is something I honestly really found hard to do in the beginning, because I'm like, oh my goodness, why is this person trying to watch me say something? Practice for this interview. I wasn't really comfortable with it, but I had to really push myself out of my comfort zone to say, you know what, I really want this job. I want this opportunity. So at least I want to get those opportunities and then actually prepare for it by doing those mock interviews. And you see that the more you do them, the more you get better, the more you get more confident about telling your story. And it just gets better, just like building muscle, it gets better from there. And the final point I'll share here is keep learning. Sometimes those jobs might not come immediately, but keep learning, whether it means upskilling for you or whether it means learning how to make better presentations, learning how to do those interviews well, learning how to present your resume better. There's just always that learning process. Ensure that you have a growth mindset and do not give up. I remember very clearly before I graduated, oh my goodness, now this brings back a lot of memories for me. But I got 4 job offers before I graduated from NYU. And I'll say I lost 2 of them because of visa issues as an international student. And I was very devastated because I'm like, I remember when I lost the first year, I was just like, you know what, I'm not doing this again. I'm done. If it means just moving back to my country, that's it. But then you think about it and you remember why you actually came here in the first place, that you have a mission, you have a goal. I had to come back to it and said, you know what, because I was able to get into X role, this kind of role, I can get into any company I want. That was literally my mindset. I had to change my perspective. And indeed, that's what I did. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go out there and apply for more jobs. And I did. And I also got the roles that I applied for. So it's very important to change your perspective, have that growth mindset, keep learning no matter what. Sometimes you might cry, you might get those rejection letters, but don't allow that get to you. That doesn't mean you're not good enough. You're actually good enough. Look at how valuable you are. Look at the work that you've put into building yourself. All right. So rejection doesn't mean denial, doesn't mean you're not going to get the next role. There you have it. These are some of the practical tips that I put into when I was looking for a job, especially as a Nigerian, as an immigrant in the US. If you found this helpful, please share it with someone that needs it. I'm also going to leave a link in the description, and that's a link to basically a simple global career roadmap that'll be very valuable to you. Thank you again for watching. I'll definitely recommend this video right here. Watch it next because to really help you to start planning, especially in a new month and a new quarter. All right, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.